Good morning, everyone. I request everyone to please be seated. Please keep your phones on silent mode. Money matters are crucial. Financial independence is imperative. But above all, the most important aspect is to have financial knowledge and capabilities. What I mean to say is, you may eventually be able to gain financial independence or build wealth through investing. But neither of those things can happen without first understanding where your money is going and learning better ways to use it and invest it. To help us understand better how to make our money work for us, we have with us today Mr. Kalpen Parekh, who is the Managing Director and CEO of DSP Investment Managers Private Limited. He has over 2 decades of experience in finance and asset management. Prior to joining DSP, Mr. Parekh was responsible for growing businesses at IDFC Mutual Fund, Birla Sun Life Asset Management Company Limited, and ICICI Prudential Asset Management Company Limited. He is passionate about behavioral finance and believes that investor behavior is one of the most crucial aspects to a good investment experience. Gracing the dais alongside Mr. Kalpen Parekh, we have our 39th National President, Jayanti Dalmia ji. She's an advisor in the Dalmia Brothers Private Limited, one of the oldest and distinguished business houses of India. She's also the founder, chairperson of Four Steps, a research, training, and rehabilitation institute for persons with special needs. She is the joint managing trustee of the Sri Krishna Janmasthan Seva Sansthan, Mathura. May I now request Jayanti ji to felicitate our distinguished guest with a memento. I would like to invite Poonam Sharma, GB member, to present a green certificate to our guest. Sir, we do not give cut flowers to our guest. Instead, we plant trees in their names through the website www.growth.trees.com. I would now like to invite National President Jayanti Dalmia to give her welcome address.
Shri Radha Krishnaya Nama. Starting with a little shloka. Shanasha kanaschaiva vidyamartham cha sadhayet shanatyage kuto vidya kantyage kuto dhanam. Knowledge should be gained through minute-by-minute efforts. Money should be earned utilizing each and every resource. If you waste time, how can you get knowledge? If you waste resources, how can you accumulate wealth? With this beautiful and very relevant Sanskrit Shubhashita, I wish you all a good morning and a warm welcome to this very exclusive session on Make Your Money Work for You. Now, doesn't that sound interesting and exciting? Is there any of us here who thinks that money is not important? Anyone? We all know money is very important for us. Besides basic needs, money helps us achieve our life's goals and supports the things we care about, our family, education, healthcare, charity, adventure, and of course fun. And in our businesses. It helps us to get some of the life's intangibles, freedom or independence. the opportunity to make the most of our skills and talents, and the ability to choose our own course in life and give us financial security. Like they say, the more your money works for you, the less you have to work for your money. To take us through some practical ways of making our money work for us, we have with us industry veteran Mr. Kalpen Parekh, Managing Director and CEO of DSP Mutual Fund. On behalf of Flow, a a warm welcome to you, sir. It is very interesting to note that transitioning from a career as a chemical engineer, Mr. Kalpen Parekh went on to lead one of the India's top mutual fund house. Today he is managing over 1 lakh crore of assets at DSP Mutual Funds. Is it more than 1 lakh crore? 30% more, okay. I read somewhere that beyond money matters, Mr. Parekh loves to watch Kapil Sharma comedy show and listen to Jagjit Singh ghazals. Am I right, sir? Thank you so much for kindly accepting our invitation to address our members. We also have some students today with us who would also benefit from today's event. Managing money in midst of life's other priorities is no easy task, especially for women. According to a report by Humanity Welfare Council, 80% of the women in India struggle with financial literacy, and 62% of Indian women do not own bank accounts or have limited access to banking services. So I feel financial knowledge is the most basic and critical knowledge we should have. While financial literacy can be a life changer for most vulnerable people of a society, for others it can help bridge the wealth gap and facilitate economic mobility. A little bit about Flow. Flow believes in holistic growth and development of existing women entrepreneurs and potential entrepreneurs so that they can take well informed decisions and become equal contributors to the nation's economy. Since its inception in 1983, Flow has been working towards strengthening, enabling, and empowering women across India. My focus is on empowering women with special emphasis on transforming women's participation in India's growth trajectory. Financial literacy is also one of the initiatives I had taken up this year. How can women's participation be transformed without financial empowerment? And how can financial empowerment be enabled without financial knowledge and competency? With this session, with a stalwart from the industry, with immense experience and expertise, we are taking this initiative forward to educate our members and empower them with skills to manage personal earnings, spending, and savings. Our endeavor is to help you develop financial strategies to meet life's goals with creating wealth and make your money work for you. Let us now wait for Mr. Parekh and learn from him the language of finance and make our money work in our favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayanti ji. The day chair and the moderator for today's event is Ms. Aarti Gupta. Aarti herself has been managing investments for her family office for over a decade. She is also the national head of the startup cell of Flow, and she is past chair of the Kanpur chapter. I now invite Kalpenji to please take over the dais and share his insights into investing.
Good morning, or good evening, good afternoon. I'm a bit nervous in front of a mixed audience of veterans and students. And like in college, I always hope I'm on the other side. And you mentioned Aarti managing money for the family for a decade. So I was wondering, Aarti, when you invited me, that why me? Because you could have done this in a much better way, because you understand the context of all the partners. So thanks, the group at FICCI Flow for having me here. To be honest, this is a very unfair topic where this is my 26th year in this industry and money management. I passed out in 98 or 25th year. और अभी भी I feel I am a student where I have not yet learned everything about managing money. So जो 25 साल में मेरी जो जर्नी है पूरी हुई नहीं है. आप मुझे 25 मिनट में एक्सप्लेन करने को आपने जो बोला है, तो मैं कोशिश करता हूँ what best I can do. Also, you know, the topic is make money work for you. It also means that we are starting with a base amount of money. Unlike, you know, 90% of our fellow citizens who generally don't have money. Typically, India is a country which is, you know, still developing, and most people don't have enough money. And we are a country of inflation at large. We all know what inflation is, right? कि हर साल 100 रुपये की वैल्यू 90 रुपीज़ हो जाती है. लाइफ हमारे देश का रफली 10% है. Forget the inflation that RBI publishes or the government publishes, but generally lifestyle inflation is 10. So 100 becomes 90 in 1 year, 90 becomes 81 in the next year. So there is huge decay. And I always, with time, I have learned that the only objective of you know, managing money is to retain the purchasing power of our current capital. Not just retain, but increase the purchasing power. That should be the single most objective to start with. And like Jayanti ma'am mentioned that, you know, if you have money, you can do a lot more for yourself and even for others. It gives you the freedom to take decisions and live life at your terms, or also have positive impact on other people. So money becomes a very, very important medium. It's not just about greed or, you know, cash, but what more we can do. My starting assumption for this group is that you know, we all have money. We are all blessed that we have enough money to start with. So the more important thing for us to keep in mind is how do we preserve this money. You know, one big observation that I have seen is people who have money, many times they are also the center of attention for everyone. Because आप अगर घर से निकल के अपने ऑफिस जा रहे हो या कहीं भी ट्रैवल कर रहे हो, you'll see thousands of hoardings trying to talk to you to make you spend. Or to make you, you know, invest, or basically take money out of our pockets. Ultimately, the job of everyone is that पैसा wallet में ना रहे या अपने बैंक अकाउंट में ना रहे, या हम बोलते हैं कि हमारे फंड्स में डालिए, इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज बोलेगी कि हमारे पॉलिसीज में डालिए, बैंक्स विल से हमारे बैंक एफडीज में डालिए, startups will say that, you know, fund my startups, and so on and so forth. Consumer brands will say that, you know, purchase our products whether they are right for you or not. But you know, आजकल हॉस्पिटल्स भी एडवर्टाइज कर रही है. हर बिल्डिंग के गेट पे हॉस्पिटल्स की एड्स है कि अगर आपको जब भी कोई ज़रूरत हो हम 20 मिनट पास में हैं. सो मनी व्हेन यू हैव मीन्स एवरीवन पुट्स अटेंशन ऑन अस. सो वी ऑल आर सेंटर ऑफ अटेंशन, एंड हेंस more than growing money, the first rule is money. It took me from 98 when I started my career to 2008, exactly a decade, to know that to make money, the first rule is not to lose money. It is not, so between 98 to 2008, they were also the glory days of India in terms of stock markets. You know, 2003 से 2007 का जो phase था, when our stock market went up 700% in 4 years. It was like a huge bubble. Globally भी था और India में भी था. So whether I was a good investor or not didn't matter. I would have still made money, and it creates illusion. When you make money very fast, it creates huge illusions that you have got the formula right, and generally in the next few years you lose all that money. So it took me 10 years to know that you know, how bad an investor I was, and then all I had to do is put a minus sign in front of everything that I was, because वो minus sign से I started gradually becoming a better investor. But the key message I want to leave is that when everyone is focusing on giving you or me advice how to make money, the first thing in your mind should be how will I not lose money. Because हर advice को थोड़ा cynicism के साथ देखना ज़रूरी है, because you know, money also attracts many times you know, wrong intent, and ज़रूरी नहीं है कि all money managers are first interested in you making money. Everyone is first interested in we making money. So today, right now, I am not representing DSP, to be honest. I tried to remove all DSP logos. शायद एक दो slide में रह गया होगा, because I made this at 2 in the night. But the idea is that be careful about money. And like I said, within the space of money, there are many products who will, you know, try to talk to you, which you may have been exposed to through your own experience or through your family members or friends. स्टॉक्स में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए, क्या म्यूचुअल फंड सही है? अभी फ़िलहाल हमारा कैंपेन्स चल रहा है, म्यूचुअल फंड सही है. हमें हमारा एक बहुत बढ़िया रूल है हमारे इंडस्ट्री का कि हम जितना भी पैसा मैनेज करते हैं उसका 2 बेसिस पॉइंट हम स्पेंड कर सकते हैं प्रमोशन के ऊपर। तो हमारी जो पूरी इंडस्ट्री है वो 40 लाख करोड़ मैनेज कर दिया है। 40 लाख करोड़ का 2 बेसिस पॉइंट कितना होता है? 40 लाख करोड़ का 2 बेसिस पॉइंट कितना होता है? 800 करोड़। तो हमें 800 करोड़ का बजट हर साल मिलता है आप ही लोगों के पैसे से, जिससे हम हमारी इंडस्ट्री को प्रमोट कर सकते हैं। इसलिए म्यूचुअल फंड सही है कैंपेन्स आपने बहुत सारे देखे होंगे, क्रिकेटर्स talking about mutual fund sahi and hoardings and stuff like that. So right now mutual fund sahi is a narrative. COVID ke baad everyone became a stock investor, right? Good, bad, ugly, everyone made money in that first year because all stocks were going up. Kachra stocks were going up, good stocks were going up. So my brother who's in the shipping business spent more time in stocks now than his core business. My sister-in-law who is a lawyer spent more time in stocks in that first 18 months than becoming a better lawyer. In the last year everything has started changing again because markets have slowed down and people have realized it's not easy. Real estate की cycles होती है। हमें बोला जाता है कि रियल एस्टेट में बहुत पैसा बनता है, ज़मीन में बहुत पैसा बनता है। You had invested 20 years back, it has gone up 20 times, 30 times. Then there are phases when these asset classes don't do well. Like last year, returns of Nifty would be 3-4%. FD से भी कम रिटर्न है और आज की तारीख में फिक्स डिपॉजिट के रेट्स 8% पहुंच गए हैं। एक साल पहले, 1.5 साल पहले जब दुनिया भर के इंटरेस्ट रेट्स वर लो, FD rates were at 3 and 4%. Today they have gone up to 8. So today FDs may seem I'm not saying are, they seem more attractive than stocks. Bonds may seem more attractive. Sometimes gold looks better. The only gold I had ever bought in my life was my wedding ring. Because I used to always debate with my wife कि gold के पास cash flow नहीं होता है. Gold does not have cash flows. When you invest in businesses, there are cash flows. But still, gold has been a protector of value for centuries. And there are years when gold actually does better when stocks and bonds don't do well. So all asset classes have a role to play in different phases. So some will do well, some will not do well. What ends up happening, with all of us as human beings is when they do badly, we think this is a bad asset class. And when they do well, we think this is the only good asset class. And that is where we make the biggest mistakes in our money decisions, which is, to expect that these times will continue. That is the biggest error that is made in investing. Let me also give you another very fundamental concept. The reason why we as a human race have survived, lakhs of years is because of a certain wiring in our mind. That jab bhi kuch, in let's say lakhs of years back when we were hunter-gatherers and we were in the forest trying to gather food and behind the shrubs something would have moved, our minds would tell us first run. Because there could be a man-eating animal who would have eaten us, and if we had not run, if we had thought and imagined nahi ye koi animal nahi hai, kuch hawa ka jhoka hoga, let me wait and analyze, that animal would have killed, our race would have not survived. So the instincts which have led us to survival, when we apply that in markets, when we apply that in money management, they actually work against us. The instincts required for being successful in markets are opposite to the instincts that have made us survive as a race. This is the most important concept to be aware of when we think of money. And which is why at large, 99% human beings are bad investors. We also make mistakes. As money managers, while you call us as experts to talk, but we also, even in our teams, we may have many poor investors because of this genetic wiring. So to be a good money manager, to be good with your money, with your hard-earned money, we have to change the genetic wiring. Can you and I change the wiring which has happened through centuries? We cannot. It only comes with hacks and discipline and some basic rules, and which is what I'll try to cover in a short period of time. So yesterday my wife was packing my bag, and we always, have very opposite views on what I should wear, or what is good fashion and what is bad fashion. So, she'll always say, why do you want to wear a formal shirt with a casual jeans? Why do you want to wear colorful shoes with, different blazer color? So I believe in contrast. She doesn't believe in contrast. So fashion has different, principles and concepts. I thought रात को सोच रहा था क्या connect करना चाहिए, and especially because I'm talking to an audience of accomplished women, I thought I'll carry it from there. So she wants me to always take just 2 shirts for 2 days. I carry 5. Thinking कि mood change हो गया या दिन में 2 दिल्ली में गर्मी होती है, 2 बार अगर चेंज करना पड़ा. So too less is also not right, too much more is also not right. The right balance is important. The same way with money, especially for all of us who have wealth and money, what happens is that everyone is chasing you. कि मेरे फंड में पैसा डाल दो, मेरे ये प्रोडक्ट में पैसा डाल दो, मेरे ये रियल एस्टेट प्रोजेक्ट में पैसा डाल दो. You are bombarded with choices, bombarded with options. Like in fashion, a wardrobe will always have too many or too less. Both extremes are not good. So the right balance is important in terms of the choice of asset classes, the choice of products. If you have too many products in your financial portfolio, whether you yourself are managing it or your family is managing it, ask this question: is it becoming a museum? Museums don't make money. Museums are just for academic interest, but they never make money. So too many is bad for money. On the other hand, too less creates risk. If you have put money in just few stocks and they go down, if you have invested in just few asset classes and if they are going through a bad patch, you could lose more money in a certain cycle, which is harmful for the long-term growth of your capital. So having the right balance is important. Number two, how we mix and match is important. So, like with our, footwear, you have shoes and sandals, and then you have socks. Both have different objectives. Depending on which city, which weather condition you are in, it is important how do you mix and match. So mixing and matching, you reminded me that I was a chemical engineer because I have forgotten chemical engineering after the first 1 year of working. But chemical engineering, it was always about mixing. My son is studying for engineering and I give him examples कि तुम 2 सफ़ेद कलर के chemicals को ऐड करोगे तो blue color बन जाएगा. And he tells me कैसे बनेगा पहले बताओ मुझे. So then I have to remember my formulas, which is difficult at 49. So mixing is alchemy. If you mix the right ingredients of asset classes or products, you can create a better product. And I'll give you one example of that. If you mix the wrong ingredients, you can create an inferior product. So alchemy is important. Mixing the right degree is important. Some of you, if you are fond of cooking, you would know that in what mixture do we mix things will determine whether the dish is tasty or not. So having that right mixture is very important. And in clothing or in fashion, what happens is that, let's say, I like a certain color, but you may not like that color, or I like a certain style, you may not like. But what happens is when, there is this huge concept of envy that we have when we look at others. Envy is the biggest enemy in investing. He has invested in ABC startup or XYZ fund, he is making money, maybe that's right for me. जैसे फैशन में रूल क्या है कि आपको जो फिट होता है वो ही किंग है या क्वीन है in let's say today's context here. But if it is not fitting you just because it is looking good on someone else, and if it is a misfit for you, it could be the wrong accessory or the wrong choice. Likewise in investing, just because your friend or your neighbor or your colleague or someone who has made money in something and hence it is suitable for me, no, the context can be different, the personal risk appetite could be different, time horizons could be different. So personal finance का एक बहुत बड़ा rule है. Personal finance में 2 शब्द है, personal and finance. So personal finance is more personal and less finance. So keep this rule in mind, because when we forget this rule, we let envy overtake us. My brother has invested in XYZ stock. That stock has gone up 2 times in the last 1 year, whereas my boring mutual fund is going up only at 14% CAGR. And this is actually the real envy I was myself, feeling few days back. Now, some of these stocks are down 40, 50, 60%. But my mutual fund is still growing at, instead of 14, at 13%. So now that envy is on his side. Now he is envying me. So context is important, personalization is important. So just keep these things in mind when you think about money. Incidentally, ma'am, you mentioned some statistics about, how many women take charge of their money decisions. Aarti is a great example. Aditi talks about you many times in our group. We've done a survey. Every year, every 2 years, we do a survey called Winvestor, which is about, the patterns of how families think about money when they think of their sons versus their daughters. Data says that fathers pass on their decision-making skills or experience about money to 70% of their kids if they are males. And that ratio is 26% if they have daughters. So, inherently at the starting point itself, there is huge disparity in how, concepts of money are passed on in our households to start with. And, on top of it, while it is well known that women are more disciplined about everything in life, and money needs discipline as the biggest ingredient for success. You mentioned about Swati. She is one of the most disciplined fund managers. Our industry has very few female fund managers. But yet, very few women take money decisions because they let, other members of the family take those decisions. My wife is more intelligent than I am. She was a gold medalist lawyer. She became a homemaker, since my son was born 16 years back. Uh, However much I attempt, she says I'm not interested in, learning about how you invest our money because you are there and, you're taking care of it. But I tell her that maybe you can do a better job because, you have a much different approach to, decision making than I have. So what I'm trying to highlight is it is very useful if, you take charge or are aware in terms of money decisions and learn some of these broad rules and principles. Coming back to the topic, what are the investment errors that typically the wealthy people make? And the reason, like I mentioned, because you are the spotlight, everyone wants to sell products to you. Most people are interested in selling products, not the well-being of your money. Be aware of that. Always ask this question कि सामने वाले का incentive क्या है? Is his or her incentive coming out of more sales of that product, or is that incentive coming after the well-being of your money? Most often, the first will be the outcome. And because incentives are not aligned right, money management typically is a very difficult industry. So you as an investor have to be beware. Normally they say that sellers beware. It is our job as sellers of products to be responsible in terms of how we recommend or advise products to our investors. But I always tell our investors, buyers beware. Be aware when you are parting with your money with someone else. Now, I'll give you a small example of late. These were some headlines that I was seeing in the last few days. These are times where sexy products, glamorous products like portfolio managements, AIFs, PE funds, real estate, these are very popular. A lot of wealthy people have a lot of money locked into these type of complex and interesting products, which make for interesting conversations over dinner. I was meeting an investor of ours in Bangalore. He was one of the best entrepreneur in a very difficult industry of making steel pipes. Steel ka jo dhanda hai is a very poor business. It has very low return on equity. But he used to manage that business very well. And he built a very solid business. And then 4 or 5 years back, he sold that business to a German company. They got 4,000 crores of money. And they started, talking to people like us, talking to various money managers, fund managers, and so on and so forth. I meet him once every 3 months, once every 3 months and 6 months. He's also in Camden, you may be aware. So he calls me every 3 months in Bangalore for a meeting. And this time when I met him, he said कि कल्पेन मैं 4 साल में पूरी दुनिया घूम ली मैंने. I've met all styles of fund managers, complex products, simple products. I have realized a simple index fund, which just buys the top 50 stocks of the country, has delivered better returns than all complex products. Whether वो PMS हो, वो stylish concentrated fund हो, वो private equity का fund हो, वो startup का fund हो. So I said that then still why do you continue to, have 30-40% of your money in such glamorous products? He said कि अगर मैं वो नहीं करूँगा तो तुम्हारे जैसे लोग मुझे मिलने नहीं आएंगे और मैं पूरा दिन बोर हो जाता हूँ और मैं पार्टी में ये भी नहीं बोल सकता हूँ कि मैंने इंडेक्स फंड में निफ्टी में पैसा डाल के 12% रिटर्न बनाया. I need to, give some examples, some stories. I want to belong. And the cost of that belonging is that 20% of my money is in these type of products. So this was a big insight for me that in spite of knowing most intelligent investors do disservice to their hard-earned money just because of the need to belong to what others are doing. He has started, putting 500 crores in real estate business in Bangalore. And I asked him, कितना छूटता है? तो ये जो यहाँ पे मैंने लिखा है 2% रूल, ही सेड रियल एस्टेट में एक ही रूल है 2% रूल. इंडिया में, बिकॉज इंडिया इज एन एक्सपेंसिव रियल एस्टेट मार्केट एट लार्ज, स्पेशली इन बिग मेट्रोज एंड सिटीज, ये जो भी कैपिटल लगता है उसमें 2% का ही ईल्ड छूटता है. रेंटल ईल्ड इज 2% इन रियल एस्टेट एट लार्ज. किसी शहर में 3 होगा, कहीं पे 1.5 होगा, मुंबई में 1 से 1.5 होता है. एंड एप्रिसिएशन इज 4-5% इन्फ्लेशन. बट collectively 5% of appreciation with 2% rental yield, and then on top of it, taxation and all of that, still does not give me the 13-14% ROE that corporate India in simple equity gives. Yet you like to invest a lot there, lock money, litigation, and so on and so forth. So the point is in investing, जो investing के जिन्होंने investing की गीता लिखी है, is a guy called. Anyone knows who is the richest investor on earth? One quiz. Arti, you can't answer because you know all of it, so at least. But yeah, Warren Buffett. He is the richest and the oldest investor. Old is very important. And I'll tell you the reason, what is the connection of old and money. He is 90 years plus. उन्होंने 11 साल की उम्र में इन्वेस्टिंग शुरू किया था. और वॉरेन बफेट. एंड कोई उसको जब कोई पूछे कि आपकी क्या क्या गलतियां हुई है, he said that one of my mistake was, which I repent, is that I started 11 years late. Now, imagine what he's trying to say. He's trying to say that 11 years of loss of compounding, because पैसा बनता है टाइम से. अगर आपका इन्वेस्टमेंट सही एसेट क्लास में है, जो इंडिया के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में 8% से 12% का रिटर्न अगर दे देता है, और आपने उसको लंबा टाइम दिया, तो बहुत वेल्थ क्रिएशन होता है. एंड ही सेज आई स्टार्टेड 11 years late. उसके जो गुरु है बेंजामिन ग्राहम, उन्होंने एक स्टेटमेंट लिखा है उनकी किताब में. उनकी एक किताब है कॉल्ड द इंटेलिजेंट इन्वेस्टर. इट इज अ बाइबल इन इन्वेस्टिंग. वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू रीड. लाइक गीता पढ़ना मुश्किल है, आसान नहीं है, राइट? We all know it has lessons of life over thousands of years, but very difficult to read. Likewise, this book. He says that why men need to learn from women the good rules of investing, because we need to invest the way women buy groceries and not perfumes. This is a statement he has made in his book. What he's trying to say is that investing में जो fashionable दिखता है या लगता है, वो प्रॉफिटेबल है ये ज़रूरी नहीं है. इन्वेस्टिंग में बार्गेन हंटिंग करना ज़रूरी है. जो सस्ता और अच्छा है वो लेना ज़रूरी है. सो जब ग्रॉसरी बाइंग करते हैं हम, तो हम द विमेन ऑफ द होम, दे नो कि अच्छा खरीदना है फॉर विच इज़ दैट्स गुड फॉर द फैमिली, बट सस्ता भी होना चाहिए, बहुत ज़्यादा महंगा नहीं होना चाहिए. जब हम लग्जरी गुड्स खरीदते हैं तो हम प्राइस को इंपॉर्टेंस नहीं देते. वी इग्नोर प्राइस. इन इन्वेस्टिंग प्राइस इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. So investing in good asset classes is very important, but on top of it, not overpaying is very important. iPhone की सही वैल्यू अगर 1 लाख रुपया है, just because वो Apple है या स्टीव जॉब्स ने बनाया था उसको, अगर वो कल 3 लाख में बेचने आ जाए, ठीक है, हमारे पास पैसा है, हम खरीद सकते हैं, but it's not the right price. So buying a good quality product at the right price is very important. So some of the biggest investment mistakes we make is we buy complex products because they look optically glamorous. They are very expensive, the fees are very high, and fees are an enemy of compounding. हर साल अगर आपके पोर्टफोलियो में 2 या 3% का कॉस्ट लगता है, उतना आपका कंपाउंडिंग का लॉस है. 100 rupees, if it grows at 10% over 20 years, for example, will be around, let's say, 40 times. And the same 100 rupees, instead of 10, if it grows at 12%, it will become 80 times. That 2% is not 2%. It is 40 times more over 20 years. So that is the importance of cost. So be conscious of the cost. The biggest mistake, people, all of us who have money many times make is we have irrational or unreal expectations. And that is when greed sets in. The way products are sold in the money management, wealth management industry is by showing high returns of the last 3-5 years. अगेन ये बेंजामिन ग्राहम की जो मैंने बात की, उनकी किताब में उन्होंने 2 लाइन कुछ शब्द लिखे. ही सेज दैट 4 words are very important to remember in investing. There are 4 very powerful words that you should always keep repeating in life and in investing. And what are these 4 words? These 4 words are this too shall pass. When past returns are very high and someone comes and says कि यार ये प्रोडक्ट बहुत अच्छा है, DSP का प्रोडक्ट, ABC का प्रोडक्ट बहुत अच्छा है, पिछले 5 साल में 30% रिटर्न दिया है, the first thing in your mind should be this too shall pass. ये 30% तो जिसने 5 साल पहले डाला था उसका है, कहीं पे गारंटी नहीं है कि अगले 5 साल में ये 30 देगा. On the other hand, this product in the last 5 years is down by -5% because the cycle was bad and it is now at a good cheap price. That was in the last 5 years. The next 5 years could be very different. So the bad 5 years, this too shall pass. So be aware of that. Now, bringing it to some relevant product classes here, I'm showing 3 asset classes. Nifty 50 is the top 50 companies of India. It represents stock market or equity as an asset class. Gold, all of you know. एंड क्रिस्टल शॉर्ट टर्म फंड जो लिखा है, इट इज़ अ प्रॉक्सी ऑफ फिक्स डिपॉजिट्स, या बॉन्ड्स या कंपनीज जो डिपॉजिट्स इशू करती है उसका प्रॉक्सी है। हमने यहाँ दिखाया कि आपने अगर पिछले 25 साल में कभी भी 5 साल के लिए अगर इफ यू हैड इन्वेस्टेड इन एनी ऑफ दीज 3 एसेट क्लासेस, what are the odds of return above a certain threshold? Many times we like to invest in stocks when their last 5-year returns are higher than 20%, and we believe that we want 20% और stocks में 20% बनता है. If you look at the right extreme, more than 20% return is available in the stock market only 18% of times. 82% of times returns are less than 20. So if someone comes and tells you कि किसी asset class में बहुत ज़्यादा return बनने वाला है, ये 20% कब बनता है और ये कब बना, ये जो data मैंने दिखाया है, if you have invested in the panic of COVID, the next 5 years you will make 15, 18, 20, 25% return. If you have invested in the panic of 2008 global financial crisis, you would have made this money. If you have invested in the panic of 2013, those 5 years, 2008 to 13, when India was going nowhere, there was a lot of pessimism all points in time. Pessimism में जब invest होता है पैसा, तो higher return बनता है. Optimism में पैसा invest होता है, तो कम return बनता है. On the other hand, has anyone come and ever told you that in 5 years, 7 years, long term में पैसा ना भी बने? आपने 5 साल का invest कर दिया, and your capital doesn't grow. So if you see the first number here, I don't know if I can show the, sorry, oh God. If you see here, less than 0.1% of times you could have made less than 0 temporarily. So these are, cycles. So you should be aware of cycles and not get carried away. But what is the most likely return? Between 8 to 12% and 12 to 20. That is where 70% of times returns are made in that bucket. So in fixed income, जो debt का alternative है, वहाँ पे 7 से 9% return generally बनता है. In gold, 9 से 11 या 12 बनता है over a long period of time. And in equities, 12 से 16% का बैंड में रिटर्न होता है ओवर अ लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. एनीथिंग मोर देन दैट, यू हैव टू डू समथिंग वेरी डिफरेंट देन व्हाट द क्राउड्स आर डूइंग. द क्राउड्स गेट आउट ऑफ स्टॉक्स in bear markets or in panic. If you enter that time, you can get 20%. The crowds get out of stock, getting into stocks when markets are, booming. जैसे एक साल पहले टेक्नोलॉजी में बहुत बड़ा बबल था, स्टार्टअप्स में बहुत बड़ा बबल था. Everyone wanted to start on their own. Now that bubble has crashed in the last 1 year. This too shall pass would have helped you. That this cannot continue. I remember we used to give offers to fresh engineers, computer engineers to join our company, and each guy used to get 5 offers in a week, and they would reject and not join. That whole trend within a year has changed today. And likewise in fixed income, if you see, the extreme points are 0. 0% of time fixed income loses money. 0% of time fixed income makes more than 12% return. But 60% of time, 60 and 39, the returns are around 8%. Now, why am I showing these data points? It is just to be aware what are the odds of returns depending on what asset class you are in. If anyone is promising you unreal returns, that is a red flag. In investing, it is never sunny every day, it is never pleasant every day, it is never cold every day. So being realistic is very important. सर्दी में it is going to be very cold, गर्मी में it is going to be very hot. बीच का experience लेना है तो humidity भी साथ में आएगी. So investing is not about fictional stories of high returns. Investing में facts जानना जरूरी है. जब आपका पैसा आप किसी से part करते हो तो पहले facts के base पे आप decision लीजिए so that you don't lose money. The next point I want to tell you, and a lot of you, come from business families, so you would relate with this. This is just a, visual sample of a household. It is showing a family, husband, wife, and 2 kids. And, it is showing typically हमारा जो living room है, उसमें क्या-क्या होता है. So you have a fan, and, next to the fan, if you see, there are 3 names, Havels, Crompton Greaves, Bajaj Electricals. These are 3 companies which are in the cabling and, electrical appliances business. Every family typically has a car or aspires for a car, small car, medium car, big car. So you have battery companies like Amar Raja or Exide. You have auto companies like Maruti or Tata Motors. You have tire companies like Apollo Tire and Seat. You have auto ancillary companies like Mothers and Sumi, who are all beneficiaries when a household buys a car. You have, when you go shopping, you will have companies like Trent or D-Mart or V-Mart, who are beneficiaries. इसमें अच्छी कंपनी भी होती है और जो कंपनी फेल हुई है वो भी होगी. So जैसे इसमें आप देखेंगे शॉपिंग में Shoppers Stop has not, it's a great brand but as a stock has not done well. Future Retail, Pantaloon, great brand, gave great discounts but as a company almost went towards bankruptcy. So जरूरी नहीं है कि जिस कंपनी का माल बहुत बिकता है वो प्रॉफिटेबल हो, बट जनरली जो आपके सामने ब्रांड्स आपके सामने ग्रो हुई है, अगर आपने सिर्फ उसके स्टॉक्स खरीद लिए होते, यू वुड हैव मेड मोर मनी. यू डोंट नीड एनी एडवाइजर टू कम एंड टेल यू एनीथिंग. You look at this girl with the nice well combed hair and ponytail. वहाँ पे 3 कंपनीज है, बजाज कॉर्प, हिंदुस्तान लीवर और मैरिको. These are brands which make the oil that we apply. Then दीवारों पे Asian Paints, Kansai, Berger, Akzo Nobel, these are the paint companies. And then books है तो ITC की notebooks है, इसमें cigarettes नहीं है obviously. I hope kids don't grow up and have cigarette, but you have the notebooks by ITC, hotels by ITC, and so on and so forth. You have some crayons and Fevicol. So Pidilite is there, Camlin is there. These are again great brands who have created huge wealth for their shareholders. The point I'm making here is each of this company, अभी इसमें अगर वो जो फादर है उसके वॉलेट से हम वॉलेट खोलेंगे तो उसमें HDFC बैंक का डेबिट कार्ड होगा या क्रेडिट कार्ड होगा. So these are the largest banks. For example, HDFC Bank is the best bank in the world in terms of its operating metrics, return on assets, growth rates and stuff like that. So what I'm saying is कि आप अपने घर में ही देखेंगे ना तो आपको 10 अच्छे इन्वेस्टमेंट का आइडियाज मिल जाएंगे. Now, for a promoter who is running a Havels or who's running Voltas or running a car company, it is just one business. But when you build a portfolio as a consumer, in one portfolio, when you invest in one mutual fund, let's say आपने DSP का कोई एक फंड खरीदा जिसमें 40 stocks है, you are straight away buying 40 stocks. You're buying 40 businesses. You're becoming an owner of multiple businesses. The promoter, if that business does very well, makes a lot of money, and if that business does not do well, loses money. But when the same promoter puts money in a diversified portfolio, in a way he's de-risking from his own business, and whenever his business or her business will have cycles, the other portfolio can give you a different sort of outcome. So this is very important to know that when you are becoming an investor, you are actually becoming an owner of those underlying funds or underlying assets. And hence, if you had to be a promoter, would you want good assets or bad assets? So when you are investing in a fund or a product, ask those questions. कि जो underlying है, क्या आपको अच्छा लगता है इसके अंदर पैसा लगाना? Are they worthy of your hard-earned money or not? So again, everything I'm talking right now, if you notice, is not about wealth creation. It is about wealth protection and how not to lose money. Again in fashion, like I started off with an example, जो मेरे घर में कल शाम को bag pack करने के time था, that how do you mix and match? Mixing has huge advantage. So here I've just given 4 important asset classes today which are available by just pressing a button. All of us can invest. One is, Indian equity, आप सबको मालूम है. So I've given this is data since 23 years, March 2000 के साल का data, वहाँ से तब से आज तक का है. आपने अगर सिर्फ निफ्टी में पैसा लगाया होता तो the returns would have been 12.6% CAGR. Gold has earned 11.4, slightly less than Nifty. But the difference is there are 7 years where Nifty has gone up and gold has given 0 returns. Then in between there are 5 years where Nifty goes 0 or earns 0 return and gold has gone up 200%. So they have their cycles, they don't move together. Actually Nifty and gold are enemies of each other, they are not friends. But when we as investors make them friends in our portfolio, they give powerful, magic. They come together, they give you same returns at much lower fluctuations, or they increase your returns for the same level of fluctuation. Likewise, जैसे इंडिया की top 50 companies को हम निफ्टी बोलते हैं, US की top 500 companies are called S&P 500, which is their proxy of our Nifty. In rupee terms, it has earned lesser than India over the last 23 years. But in the last 10 years, their returns are better than India. So again, the paths are not same. The destination returns of all asset classes may be similar, but the paths are different. And a more stable asset class is bond. So the CRISIL dynamic index that I've highlighted, 8.4, is nothing but a proxy of fixed deposits, PPF, bonds, debt funds. Now, if you see, all 4 have different returns, 9.6, 11.4, 8.4, 12.6. If you do an average of this, क्या number आना चाहिए? All of you are students, can you quickly tell me what is the average of these 4? Around 10? So mathematically, if you equally invest in all 4, the return comes to 10. But actually, if you do that, the real return would be 11.7. So this is the power of mixing asset classes which don't move together. So when equity, last 1 year, when Indian markets gave only 4% return, gold has given roughly 11%. In 2000 and between 2018 to 2020, when Nifty returns were X, US market returns were 2X. In 2001 to 2010, the first decade, when US market returns were 8%, Nifty returns were 16%, and vice versa. So because they, the paths are opposite at times, when you mix them together, it brings down volatility. It brings down fluctuation. The biggest enemy again of investors and their money is fluctuation. When fluctuations rise, we panic as investors. So if you want to create low fluctuation portfolio without significant compromise on your returns, mix these asset classes. Now, whether the ratio should be 25 each or 20, 20, 20, 40 is again a function of personal context, timing, valuations. I can't explain in a short session. It will take me another 2 hours to explain that. And some point in time, if you are keen to learn, I can do that. But this fusion in investing is very important. We call it diversify. Lot of investors think diversification is owning 100 stocks, 500 stocks, 50 funds, many properties, many funds, many products. No, that's creating a museum. Diversification is thoughtfully choosing different asset classes which have different characteristics. कि अगर एक ने अंडर परफॉर्म किया तो दूसरा अच्छा करेगा. T20 type form of cricket is a classic example of that. T20 and IPL. IPL के गेम में आप देखोगे 20 ओवर का मैच होता है. IPL T20 is 20. T20. IPL जो T20 है वो तो 20 ही ओवर है ना. IPL is 20 है, Indian Premier League. Now basically the format there and 50 या 20 is not important, but the format is कि IPL की टीम्स में 4 प्लेयर बाहर के हैं, 7 प्लेयर इंडिया के हैं. जो 4 बाहर के हैं वो कोई ऑस्ट्रेलिया का प्लेयर होगा, someone is from श्रीलंका, someone is from England, someone from so what are you doing? You are choosing the best players independent of geography. You want to create the best team. As investors, if you want to create the best teams, who says the best companies are only from India? India doesn't have an Apple. India doesn't have an Amazon. India had Flipkart, but that's not available to us. So Amazon is the option. India doesn't have Tesla. Now many car companies are talking of EV and stuff like that. So sensibly diversifying is important, not at the wrong times. Likewise, in the first 7 players who come from India, you will have 2 spinners, 1 fast bowler, 2 strong batsmen, 1 wicket keeper. So all 5 are different. Who is the best Indian batsman today? बहुत popular है विराट कोहली यहाँ पे. Ma'am, you have a different view. Who's the best according to you? Okay. Now assume Virat Kohli, and if you were the chairman of the selection committee, will you have 11 Virat Kohlis in your team? Even though you know he is the best? Why no? So who else will you want? You will want a good bowler. You will want a good wicket keeper. You will want that if the pitch is bouncy and if Virat Kohli is not right for that, you need a Cheteshwar Pujara who can defend very well, and so on and so forth. That is called genuine diversification. Having 11 Virat Kohlis or 11 Rohit Sharmas or 11 Mohammad Shamis is not the answer. If I'm a fan of Amitabh Bachchan or Jagjit Singh you mentioned, doesn't mean that my movie library will have only Amitabh. Abhishek bhi acha act kar leta hai. Lot of younger actors who do well. So diversification sensibly and thoughtfully is what the fusion of fashion is, which helps in investing. And now I come to the last slide. So the title is Thank You. If you start applying these principles now, if you don't start applying them, then I'll have to come again and bore you again. So I will not accept your thank you. But I have pointed out 4 pictures here. The old man is Warren Buffett. He says that the best ingredient to wealth creation is longevity and time. So, he says, मेरा सबसे best हथियार is investing की game में समय है. Time is the biggest variable. And why time? So here I've shown a clock. I don't know if it is visible, but वो clock के अंदर एक formula है. How many of you can see the formula on that wall clock? You cannot? Can you see the formula? What is the formula? So formula में 4 alphabets है. Which are they? R and T. A का मतलब है amount, कि पैसा लगाने के बाद 5 साल 10 साल 15 साल के बाद हाथ में वापस कितना आएगा. तो A is never known upfront. A is known only later on. Is the wealth you will create. What is P? The amount you will put today. That is in your control. So A is not in our control. P is in our control. What is R? Is that in our control? Partly yes, partly no. Our attitude and behavior as an investor will determine that R. If you are bad investors, the R will be low and even negative. If you are better investors, the R will be favorable and positive. So R partly in our control, partly not in our control because we can't predict the future of asset classes. We can't predict अगले 5 साल interest rates क्या होगा. We can't predict अगले 10 साल हिंदुस्तान लीवर अच्छा करेगा या एशियन पेंट्स अच्छा करेगा. ये हिंदुस्तान लीवर को भी नहीं पता है. बट हम लोग उस पर प्रिडिक्शन करते रहते हैं. तो R 50-50 है. P हमारे कंट्रोल में है, R पार्टली हमारे कंट्रोल में है. तीसरा वेरिएबल क्या है? टाइम. ये हमारे कंट्रोल में है दो तरीके से हमारे कंट्रोल में. इफ वी स्टार्ट अर्ली we will have longer time. If we stay put till late, we will have longer time. अब ये जो तीन वेरिएबल है राइट हैंड साइड ऑफ द इक्वेशन, इसमें P और ब्रैकेट के बीच में कौन सा मैथमेटिकल ये है मल्टीप्लिकेशन. R के पास कौन सा मैथमेटिकल वेरिएबल है? एडिशन. T के पास कौन सा है? तो ये तीनों वेरिएबल्स को पावर क्या देता है? मल्टीप्लाई, प्लस और एक्सपोनेंट. किसके पास ज्यादा पावर है? विच मीन्स किसके पास ज्यादा पावर है? टाइम. तो सबसे ज्यादा पावर टाइम पे है, लेकिन इन्वेस्टर सबसे कम टाइम के बारे में सोचने में लगाता है. हम ज्यादा टाइम लगाते हैं बाजू वाले ने क्या किया, कौन से एसेट क्लास का रिटर्न ज्यादा है, तो आर पे हम ज्यादा टाइम देते हैं. आर के बाजू में प्लस साइन है जिसका सबसे कम इफेक्ट है. प्लस मल्टीप्लाई और एक्सपोनेंशियल में प्लस हैज लेस इफेक्ट. Of course, every plus is positive, right? Every multiplication is positive, but exponent से कम power multiply में है, multiply से कम power plus में. So mathematically, even if you don't believe in me, believe in maths. Math says that the most powerful variable is time, and which is why. So Warren Buffett का जो portfolio का return है, he is the richest man on earth, barring एक साल वो Microsoft का stock अगर बढ़ गया तो Bill Gates richest हो जाता है. एक साल अगर इलॉन मस्क का वो तुक्का लग गया तो वो रिचेस्ट बन जाता है. बट सस्टेनेबली टॉप 5 में अगर कोई पिछले 20 साल से आया तो वॉरेन बफेट है, बिकॉज वो 11 की उम्र से इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं और उनका जो पोर्टफोलियो का रिटर्न है ओनली 19%. डीएसपी का सबसे पुराना फंड है जो 97 में लॉन्च हुआ था, इट्स रिटर्न इज 19%, एग्जैक्टली द सेम रिटर्न एज वॉरेन बफेट. बट देर आर ओनली 26 इन्वेस्टर्स हु हैव स्टेड पुट इन दिस एंटायर 25-year जर्नी. सो पीपल डोंट गिव टाइम टू मनी. मार्केट में पैसा बनता है बट पीपल डोंट. सो टाइम इज इंपॉर्टेंट. द सेकेंड थिंग दैट यू शुड बी अवेयर ऑफ इज दिस ब्लू पार्ट. आई डोंट नो हाउ मच इज, वी अज्यूम दैट मार्केट हर साल एक certain percentage का रिटर्न देगा, 10, 12, 14. We assume it is going to be linear. It's not. So let's assume if every year the return was 1 rupee, in 7 years it should be 7. We'll get 7, but the path is different. It is 1 plus 2 plus 4, sometimes minus 3, sometimes minus 2, sometimes 0, and then plus 5 again. So this is a very important point we don't realize. We expect linearity of returns. No asset class has linearity. It will have fluctuations. Fluctuations are a part of investing. Don't get afraid. Take advantage of that. There are techniques and tools to take advantage of fluctuation, again for some other day. In the right corner, I've just shown my personal asset allocation. If you see my personal fashion fusion, 40 rupees is in Indian equity funds. 22 rupees is in hybrid funds, which are a mix of multiple asset classes. Mixture of Indian equity, global equity, debt, gold. So 22 रुपया confused portfolio में. Because I am confused right now. I don't have clarity कि दुनिया भर में recession होगा या growth होगा. So I'm okay to have a defensive part in my portfolio. Another 20 rupees is debt funds, which are very safe. Where if I need money in the next 6 months or 1 year, or if in the next 6 months or 1 year equity markets fall, from this 20 I can move into that 40 and take advantage of fluctuations. So I said that fluctuations का benefit उठा सकते हो जब आपके पास cash हो to take advantage. And 17 rupees is in international funds. Part of these international funds invest in gold. Part of it invests in gold mining companies or energy companies. So again, a very different profile. All these four are enemies of each other. They don't move together. They don't walk together. They walk in opposite journey. But when I put them together, it creates a reasonably solid, steady team. My portfolio is not designed for highest returns. My portfolio is designed for survival so that I don't panic. So even in last 1 year where a lot of asset classes have fallen, this portfolio is up 3%. Now you'll say 3% return बना के हमारे सामने आप stage पे क्यों speech दे रहे हो? But in context that other asset classes have lost 20, 30, 40, protection of capital is important. 3 to 5% is the return. It will now help me to reinvest in asset classes which are coming down. So if you are able to follow these principles of diversification, losing less money, giving time to our money, learning about our investments by asking the right questions, knowing what type of returns are possible, and not getting fooled or carried away just because someone else wants to sell a product to you. Being rich, becoming rich, remaining rich, all three are easy. And ultimately, being wealthy is not about money, it's about having time and, able to do what you want to do. So, wish all the best to all of you and long decades of compounding. A lot of you are young people. I started making my investment at the age of 23. I was more dumb than Warren Buffett. उन्होंने 11 पे शुरू किया था. For my son, I started at 8. That also, he many times tells me कि मेरे लिए आपने 8 साल late क्यों किया? So a lot of you who are young, take charge. And a lot of you who are not very young, take charge in terms of ensuring that the capital is invested the right way. Thank you so much once again for inviting me.
Kalpen ji, what an amazing talk. You have made a dry subject sound so interesting and a complicated subject so simple. Now we will begin the moderated session and I invite Aarti to take over.
Thank you, Poonamji. And absolutely wonderful and insightful session, Kalpen. I think a lot of times investors and people who want to invest think that making money is about having the knowledge and the intelligence to identify different products. But like you rightly pointed out, it's making money is about those subtler psychological nuances which is involved. Patience, compounding, these are the things which are required. So I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I have a few questions and then we'll open it up to the audience as well. My first question is, and I know you touched upon it a little, often we all know that women are the karta dhartas of household finance, and you spoke about it as well, right? But when it comes to money matters, the purse strings, it's usually the men who make investment decisions. In your experience, why do you think there is this gender lens to investing, and how can we change this?
Thanks for asking that question. Actually, there should be a gender lens to investing, and if more women can participate with money. And I'll give you, my real life experiences with our own people at times or with investors. I've seen there is a different degree, and I'm not saying this because I'm in front of women. I've said this in front of a room which is full of men also, that there is a certain purity that, women bring to things that generally आपने देखा होगा corruption में कभी किसी female का नाम नहीं होता है. मेल्स का ही नाम होता है तो एक सेंस ऑफ प्योरिटी और इंटेग्रिटी होती है एंड मनी नीड्स दैट इंटेग्रिटी एंड डिसिप्लिन सो इनफैक्ट इट इज़ मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट दैट women learn about investing. I have very consciously made an effort to have at least 50% of our senior people who are women. So it's not just that I am talking, we believe in it. So it's very important. Now the unfortunate part is this is cultural. And, as a society, culturally, we are wired to think that certain important decisions only, men take in our family, which is not correct. And I think the sooner we start making that change, and there are only two ways in which change can happen. One is women becoming, more decisive in terms of wanting to talk about money and know about money. But equally and, more important is the responsibility of fathers and, brothers and husbands in the family to inculcate that habit. So my sister lives in Hong Kong. She's 11 years younger to me, and she's like a daughter in a way because she was the youngest. So when she started earning her money, I helped her to start investing at a very early age. Few weeks back, she messaged that मुझे एक statement मिला है कोई म्यूचुअल फंड से और उसमें roughly 2.25 करोड़ का वैल्यू है. तो ये जोक है या ये रियल है. and this was her money only, which, you know, when she was earning, I had started an SIP for her. This was 2003 onwards. So 20 years of time and investing every month created this value. And then, of course, markets went up and all of that. And I was telling her that, so she's a chartered accountant, she's a lawyer, she's a tax expert, she's worked with the big four companies in India and in Hong Kong. And now she is a homemaker because they've relocated. But still she does not yet take charge. And at least she cannot complain that in her family, the male has not given her an opportunity. So whenever I speak about things, when I read about things, I share with her. I, you know, share my videos and all. But it is actually a balance of both. The men in the family have to start creating that culture and involving women, and women also, like they take charge of more difficult, complex things, they need to do it here. I don't have any other answer of.
No, no, and absolutely. I mean, I completely agree with you on this. I started taking charge of our family money about 12 years back, and I strongly urged every woman to do that. Like, because you know that there are so many women out there who are earning money, but they're not managing their money, which is, you know, because earning is more difficult than managing. So, but
In our fund house, we have 33 lakh investors. Only 30% of them are in women investors. And of course, we don't know that those decisions are
they're
also
proxy,
their own
yeah,
or they are proxy.
of course.
Yeah.
But it's changing, and the very fact that we have so many
So
women
many,
out here to
Listen to.
here to listen and learn, that's a huge this thing. So coming to that, like, you know, knowing that all these women out here are here to learn how to start investing, where do they start? Because that's a question which I get asked often, right? Like, I have X amount of money, what do I do? You know, do I put it in a stock? Do I put, so where do I start? Can you kind of just give them like 4 bullet points? Like, you have X amount of money, do this, this, this.
So again, simple answers are very difficult to give and very difficult to execute. So I'll say that start with an index fund, but how will you search which index fund? You know, where will you go and search? What are the parameters? So it's not a very, the honest answer is not very easy. But I would say that, you know, first thing is start by having some role models in either your family or friends, and, you know, start using them as your advisor. So the first alphabet is A, and hence have the right advisor. Advisor doesn't mean a broker or a wealth manager necessarily. अगर आपको कोई अच्छा wealth manager मिलता है, वो भी एक अच्छी शुरुआत है. But let's say I'm saying you in this room is a good starting sound to have that. Okay, you know, you've been doing this for 15 years. So start by identifying some role models in your network who are adept at you know, thinking about investing, thinking about money. So because they will have your interest at heart first, they will not have no other vested interest, and they will guide you with the right honesty. But of course, that person should also be an expert. It should not be that he's punting in stock markets and losing money, and you also lose money. So start with that. A is you know, a good advisor. B is start with you know, few good books. बहुत मुश्किल है, मुझे पता है कि you know, किताबें पढ़ना तो हम स्कूल में भी नहीं पढ़ते थे, तो लाइफ में क्यों पढ़ेंगे. बट इसमें कोई और सिंपल तरीका नहीं है. टू डू you know, better things, some difficult things have to be done. So there's a book called Psychology of Money that I always you know, urge investors to read by Morgan Housel. And there's another book that has influenced my investing approach. It's a very simple book in a story format called The Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli. The art of thinking clearly is not only about money. It is the art of thinking clearly. So thinking is required in every day. It is required in every phase of our life. Decision making कैसे करना चाहिए, हम हमारे biases को कैसे कम कर सकते हैं, तो investing के लिए भी बहुत काम आती है ये किताब. So these are two good starting points. I had thought about this point, that if I have to start all over again, how will I start? So these are two good starting points. These are simple books to read. They will give you a very good framework. They are very entertaining and interestingly written ways of, they are not dry books. Like the best books to read are by Warren Buffett. वो एक letter लिखते हैं हर साल अपने shareholders को, और वो ये बोलते हैं कि I will write to my shareholders thinking that my sister is my shareholder, so that it is easy to understand. Yet it is dry. But these two books are relatively, you know, better to start with. So start with that. And there's another book by you know, one of our advisors called P.V. Subramaniam. He's called Subramani, M-O-N-E-Y. He's written a book called Retire Rich. These give you very simple, practical principles of, you know, how to think about various aspects of money. And money is not about investing. Money could be, do you have the right health insurance? Do you have the right term insurance? My mother is going through her cancer treatment. She worked till 65 years of age. पूरे 35 साल की मेहनत करने के बाद उन्होंने जितनी उनकी सेविंग्स एक्यूमुलेट की होगी, वो एक ही साल में मेडिकल एक्सपेंस में उतना मेडिकल एक्सपेंस हुआ है. बट थैंकफुली शी वर्कड इन द इंश्योरेंस कंपनी, तो उनका हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सबसे वेल टेकन केयर था. So she did not have to dip into her savings. Now what I'm saying is that if she had not, and I am not an insurance specialist, if she had not started about it 35 years back, we would have been, not in this situation. So how many of you would even know कि health insurance कैसे लेना चाहिए, term insurance कैसे लेना चाहिए? So these are important concepts to know beyond market. So A is good advisor, B is few good books, and The Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli, and Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, and Retire Rich by P.V. Subramaniam. And there's one book that Monica Hullen has written, who is a very celebrated journalist, personal finance expert. I forget her name. I'll message it to you and you can pass it on. So advisor, good books, and then it is like good health के लिए हम जो basic चीज़ें करते हैं, eat well, breathe well, take proper sunlight, work out. तो start investing में अगर शुरू करना है, because I represent the domain of investing, start with a good index fund before anything else. Another point, lot of people like to invest in stocks. Now I was doing this exercise a few days back कि इंडिया के जो top 10 companies कौन सी है जिनके पास सबसे ज़्यादा retail shareholders है. So these are companies like Infosys has 30 lakh shareholders, ITC has 25 lakh shareholders. Then Reliance Power एक 2008 में कंपनी आई थी, उसके पास 40,000 शेयरहोल्डर्स, 40 लाख शेयरहोल्डर्स है. Then Yes Bank around 30 lakh shareholders.
Oh wow.
DHFL, the company which went bankrupt, 35 lakh shareholders. Now हमारा जो बेस्ट परफॉर्मिंग फंड है, जो मैंने आपको बताया, जिसका 19% रिटर्न है 25 साल का, मतलब 25 साल में it went up 80 times. It has only 2 lakh unit holders. And not just with DSP, every fund house will have 2, 3, 5 lakh. So what I'm trying to say is that stocks where lot of people have gone and bought without the right advice or knowledge, and they've just bought it because either it was going up very fast or it is crashing very fast, so you think कि अभी सस्ता मिल रहा है. Retail shareholders have destroyed well. So when I looked at 10 such companies, there are only 2 companies worth touching for our hard-earned money, Infosys and ITC. इनका return on equity जो है वो 12, 13, 14, 15% का है. Other companies don't even make profits. Some of them don't make profits. Some of them have return on equity less than cost of capital. So they are not even worth touching. But the 8 other companies have more shareholders than simple Nifty or mutual funds. So what I'm trying to highlight is many times people start by buying stocks and they don't know the formula of investing in stocks. Start competing and playing a hockey match, but you don't know the rules of hockey. You've never played hockey in your life, and one fine day you wake up and start playing hockey. स्टॉक मार्केट में 90% जीरो दा के जो फाउंडर है वो बोलते हैं कि मेरे पास 1.25 करोड़ इन्वेस्टर है, 96% of them don't make more than savings account returns. So most people come to markets to trade to lose money, so that the balance 4% make all the money. So now you have to decide आपको 4 में रहना या 96 में रहना.
No, in fact, I mean, a lot of people ask me कि कोई stock tip दे दो, and I actually don't trade or invest in individual stocks at all, because the time and effort it takes to study a particular company and then make a decision whether the price to buy that is a good price, is expertise which I currently don't have at the time.
But someone like you with such background who could still be in that 1% of the country from a thinking ability, if you are yourself saying I don't want to devote that much of time, most people with zero expertise go and
no, and so I mean, a lot of times people think that ये बताना नहीं चाह रही है कि कौन से stock में invest कर रहे हैं, but the honest truth is that I don't trade in individual stocks at all, and that's the advice which I would also like to share with everyone. Kalpen, I wanted to ask, today we're living in a world where the epochal changes dial is stuck to maximum. Basically, every other day you're hearing of things which are happening once in a lifetime, a war, a pandemic, the inflation numbers. 37 countries I've seen inflation numbers doubling for them in the last 2 years. It's very difficult to not react to this, So how can, as an investor, you still kind of keep a tab on these changes for your portfolio but not be reactive?
This is such a brilliant question, and 99% people don't ask this question. So I gave this example of Raul Tobelli. I read his interview in 2014 in a op-ed page of Times of India, and it's amazing that a newspaper allowed this interview and allowed this headline. And the headline said, "News is to the mind what sugar is to the body." So it in a way said that constant news flow to your mind is bad stimulus for you to remain a good investor. So the more you react, the more information you consume, the more you feel like reacting. Actually, investing is about time. Now, the more information you get and the more you react, you're killing time. You're reducing your time horizons. Today, unfortunately, because of WhatsApp, every day there are 20 different messages of opposing forces. एक मैसेज तेजी करेगा, एक मैसेज मंदी की बात करेगा, एक मैसेज बोलेगा वर्ल्ड इज गोइंग टू कम टू एन एंड, एक मैसेज इनोवेशन की बात करेगा एंड इट विल से दैट द वर्ल्ड इज ओनली इम्प्रूविंग. सो हाउ डू यू रिमेन सेन विदाउट एक्टिंग? सो व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट इज टू क्रिएट टू buckets, that what is relevant information to be aware of, or relevant turning points to be aware of, and what is not relevant. Generally 98% signals are noise and only 2% signals are genuine signals which are action worthy or on which you need to take action. So one, compartmentalize, and again that will come with a lot of time and knowledge that what information will matter. Now let me give you an example in today's context. Like you said, the whole world is becoming inflationary, and just 2 साल पहले, 1 साल पहले दुनिया का हर central banker was saying inflation is transitory. Imagine how wrong central banks are, and we wait to read रात को वो फेडरल रिजर्व ऑफ यूएस जब वो अनाउंस करते हैं अपने फेड पॉलिसी हर 2 महीने में, हम रात को, मेरी टीम को मैं बोलता हूँ कि रात को 1 बजे तुम ब्लूमबर्ग खोल के बैठोगे और फिर तुम एनालिसिस करके हमारे व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप पे भेजोगे. सुबह मैं उठता हूँ तो तुम्हारा मैसेज देखता हूँ सबसे पहले. बट उनको खुद को नहीं पता इन्फ्लेशन का क्या होने वाला है, एंड वी ट्रैक देम. सो देर इज सो मच ऑफ फ्यूटिलिटी इन एक्टिविटी, एंड मोस्ट पीपल विल नॉट टेल यू बिकॉज वी आर वायर्ड टू एक्ट. So, stillness is very important in investing. Knowing when not to act is very important. Number 2, most things which are changing, frequently, they get priced in very frequently. So if you and I know about something, the whole world is already knowing it. It is already there in the price. So अगर भाव में already आ चुका है तो उस information की incremental value कुछ भी नहीं है. So the second compartmentalization that you need to do is what is reflecting in the price of an asset class. And what is not. And if this new information is already not reflecting in the price, then you need to act. If it is already in the price, it is too late to act. So that is the second point to be aware of. And the third point to be aware of is, so these first 2 things are about, constantly new information, new trends, new revolutions or shifts that are happening, where it is about change. But there are few rules which are timeless, time immemorial, they will never change. And there are these 2 rules that I follow. इन्वेस्ट इन वॉट इज़ गुड इनहेरेंटली. नीचे का जो एसेट क्लास है या कंपनी, वो कचरा नहीं होनी चाहिए. जो अगर इफ़ यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन गुड रिलेशनशिप्स, गुड हेल्थ, गुड पीपल, गुड बिजनेसेस, गुड एसेट क्लासेस, 99% ऑफ टाइम्स विल नॉट गो रॉन्ग. सो इन्वेस्ट इन गुड इज इंपॉर्टेंट. एंड द सेकेंड थिंग इज इन्वेस्ट एट गुड प्राइजेस. डोंट ओवर पे फॉर इट. सो लेट मी गिव एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ दैट. व्हाट आई मीन बाय डोंट ओवर पे. लाइक आई अगेन गिव एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ आईफोन. इसकी जितनी भी यूटिलिटी ले लो, इसको थोड़ा प्रीमियम आप दे दो बिकॉज it has great UI UX and it is a brand that we feel like showing off. 1 lakh rupees is the right price. But let's say because of some crazy demand, iPhone says that हम कम phones बनाएंगे, but the demand remains intact and the price goes to 10 lakh rupees. Then this extra 9 lakh rupees is the froth. So is this good? It is great. The product is great. So investing in this is right to do. But if you're overpaying in terms of price, it is not right. I stay in Ville Parla. Mumbai, I feel, is the worst real estate market of the world because, for the worst infrastructure, you have 40, 50, 60,000 rupees per square feet as the price. Is it a great price to own real estate or own a home? घर खरीदने के लिए खरीदना पड़ता है, but otherwise, is it a great price to pay? No. So, अगर वहाँ 40,000 का रेट 80,000 हो गया, you're overpaying. So what is the right price to pay? So these are 2 important things to keep in mind whenever you are incorporating new information.
Super. Wonderful suggestions. I do have a list of other questions, but what we'll do is, due to paucity of time, we'll open up the floor for some audience questions, and then we'll take it from there. I think one there, one here. Yeah, please.
Good afternoon. Mr. Parekh, it was wonderful listening to you.
Thank you.
And thanks so much, Jayanti ji and Aarti. actually the saying which says being wealthy is having time. I think being wealthy is also listening to intelligent people like you. So because today we do feel that we have reached a better intellectual level with regard to investing. So as you said in your entire lecture, I belong to that 26% of the daughters who was trained literally by her father, and at a very young age was explained that, beta, there are two ways. One is you work hard for your money, and second is let the money work hard for you. So I have constantly kept that policy in mind always. But I have a question. I think we have not, because I am a professional myself, I'm a lawyer. I work in the Delhi High Court. So as a professional family, which I belong to, I want to understand that when we are in this middle age of 40s, we had started investing at a young age for certain goals in mind, say for children's education and so on. Now, once we have reached those goals to achieve, and of course we have to liquidate. So once that starts happening, how is it possible that the portfolio which has been built up, which starts getting liquidated a little bit, that it becomes even stronger or remains like protected for our older age? So if you could kindly guide me on that.
So first of all, compliments to your father who behaved differently than 99% males. So it's good to hear what you said. Also, less than 1% people invest for goals. So your approach is very disciplined. So when we do survey with our investors, कि आपने हमारे फंड में पैसा लगाया, क्यों लगाया? So they'll say friend ने बोला, NAV अच्छी बढ़ रही है, returns बहुत अच्छा है. They are wrong reasons. We don't mind because ultimately हमको पैसा आ रहा है. But they are wrong reasons. The right reason is to have a right goal because that brings discipline. Now, obviously, as you fulfill your goals, that is also returns. So many times, like I'll give you my own example. I also told you real estate in Mumbai is a wrong thing to do. I am 48. I bought my home last year. I lived in a rented house. After like growing up in my parents' place, I used to live in a rented house because I did not find sense in buying expensive real estate which gives 2% rental yield. So I told my wife कि तुमको जहाँ रहना है मैं आप तुमको रेंट में अच्छे घर में अच्छे लोकेशन में you can stay. Why don't force me to buy a house at crazy prices? And thankfully she agreed, and 21 years of marriage, for 20 years she didn't force. Last year COVID और ये सब हुआ, prices थोड़े नीचे आ गए, and I felt कि now I have enough money that even if I'm over, I still feel that decision to buy a home in Mumbai is a expensive decision. But I still did it because I fulfilled a goal. So my capital value dropped by 25% because real estate in Mumbai is very expensive. मेरी जितनी भी wealth मेरे lifetime में accumulate हुई है वो straight away 75% हो गई. Now ideally I should feel poorer, but I'm not feeling poorer because I fulfilled an important goal or a promise that I had made to her when she had come to meet me. वो मेरे छोटे घर में जब आई थी and she said कि मुझे यहाँ रहना पड़ेगा, and I said तुम आ जाओ मैं 2 साल में घर खरीद लूँगा. वो 2 का 20 हो गया. तो एक promise fulfill हुआ, वो मेरे लिए return था. That return was, as good or better than some. So, जब goals पूरे होंगे through your capital that you've created, there will be a dip in capital, but it will give you an uplift in a goal. Having said that, if your portfolio is well managed and it is compounding at a rate of return better than the inflation, your capital is always ahead of future goals also. So let's say your next goal could be retirement. 20 साल बाद you want to retire. And one thing to be aware of is that we are living longer. We don't know if we will be earning longer. We hope we are intellectually also younger at 75 and 80 and able to keep earning money. We don't know that. We don't know how we will be when we are old. So our lifestyle costs will be higher. Our healthcare costs will be higher. So you need more capital. So if your portfolio is growing at a reasonable rate, not irrational rate, not very low rate, even after fulfilling goals at different stages, your capital will still keep on growing. So that is important. Of course, as you take capital out to fulfill your goals, mathematically that amount will come down, but the rate of return at which it is compounding. So like I said, 1 rupee 25 years back, if it has compounded at 18%, today is worth 80 rupees. Whereas your goals would have been worth 20 rupees. तो आप फिर भी 60 times अमीर हो. Of course, ये 18% मेरे हिसाब से अगले 10 साल नहीं बनेगा because our markets have developed already. When you invest at very low prices, जिसने 95 में जब equity की कोई बात नहीं करता था, उसने 18% बनाया. अब तो सब popular. अब now everyone is in the stock market. So 18% बनना बहुत मुश्किल है unless you are in business and you know you are in a great business. So, but 12% का compounding लेके portfolio grow हो सकता है. So my only answer is just you know stay disciplined and ensure that you are in the right asset class, in the right mix, and as long as your money is compounding at my maths in my mind is 10 से 12% का compounding मिल गया तो I'm happy. उससे ज़्यादा मिल गया तो मेरे लिए bonus है. And that is the only way. And alternatively, you will keep earning your income also, which is getting added to your kitty. So first thing is invest in earning money, so that you know. And great question you asked, because there are a lot of students. Like I tell this to you know my younger friends that अपनी talent इतनी बढ़ाओ कि उससे तुम्हारी earning capacity बढ़े, और वो earning capacity लंबी होनी चाहिए, not just one off. So if you become a great professional, you'll keep earning for long. If you keep enriching yourself every year and adding value to your business or to your company or to your colleagues, you will keep growing in your careers and you will keep increasing your earning capacity. I started with a salary of let's say 8,000. Today it may be 100 times more. But that would have not happened if I did not learn from giants around me and I invested in you know training and learning. So the other way to take care of this is keep earning and increase your inflow. So वो formula में if your P keeps rising, time आप दे रहे हो तो even at 10% rate of return, your A will keep rising higher than the cost of your goals. Sorry for the long answer.
No, super. Rightly said. Not just invest your money, but invest in yourself to make more money as well. We have one more question.
Yeah, good afternoon. You gave a very interesting insight, and I can say बात निकली है तो दूर तलक जाएगी. So what I want to say is, unfortunately, I belong to the old school where, you know, we women were not encouraged to invest or whatever, and we were not investment savvy. So at our age, of course, we have our fixed deposits and gold and real estate, but what advice would you give at our age? Because we don't have time. That is the biggest problem.
Okay. Okay. So, ma'am, you know, depends कि मेरे पिताजी और he is 76. He's you know after all the expenses and costs that he's going to incur, he will still have enough money that he'll pass on to the next generation. So I tell him कि जो भी आपका savings finally बचेगा, give it to my sister, because so the money is going to be for the next generation also. Some money will always go to the next generation. So उसका time horizon is very long. So long term में compounding होता है businesses को खरीद के, तो उसके लिए equity का asset class important है. 10 साल 20 साल 30 साल का जब horizon हो. शॉर्ट टर्म में equity as an asset class is a wrong asset class. शॉर्ट टर्म में bonds are important. So जैसे आपने FDs बताया, अब FDs में बहुत लोगों को नहीं पता है कि FDs पे आपका जो इनकम टैक्स का रेट है वो हाई. सो उसके सामने आप एग्जैक्टली सो टैक्स बहुत ज़्यादा है, 30% 25%. बहुत वेल्दी फैमिलीज़ में 40% टैक्स लगता है FDs पे. तो उसके सामने आप FDs में ही इन्वेस्ट करने वाले डेट फंड्स को अगर समझ ले तो रिटर्न उतना ही मिलता है ग्रॉस लेवल पे. FDs में 8 मिलेगा, 8 नहीं अभी 7 मिलता है, 7 वहाँ भी मिलेगा. सो 7 और 8 के बीच में मिलेगा. बट म्यूचुअल फंड में जो टैक्स कटता है वो सिर्फ 5 या 10% का टैक्स कटता है, बिकॉज उसमें एक कॉन्सेप्ट है इंडेक्सेशन का. ये FDs में अवेलेबल नहीं है. सो इफ़ यू जस्ट लर्न दैट कॉन्सेप्ट एंड मेक अ स्मॉल शिफ्ट, इवन योर FD कंपोनेंट will increase return by 1.5 to 2%. Then you know, let's say because you said you are at a certain age, or you know you are old and you don't want to take a lot of aggression in your portfolio. But if your entire portfolio is in safe assets, all safe assets put together may earn 6 or 7%, which is less than the rate of inflation. So then you need something which is inflation beating, which is going to be equity. So hence you need to start learning about it, and you know adding some degrees of equity depending on your profile.
You need some 10 years now, which we may not have. Equity
Fair
career.
point. Fair point. I don't think so. You will have 25 years. Don't worry. We wish for that.
Great, thank you. I think we'll take just one more question, and because we'll wrap it up.
I just want to ask one thing, that how important do you think is it to create an emergency fund?
So, ma'am, it's like everyone's personal context. So, बहुत ज़रूरी emergency भी you know life में आ सकती है, and we always assume कि emergency बाजू वाले को आएगी, मुझे नहीं आएगी, but it can come. So, definitely it is important to have emergency fund, and there are some simple thumb rules or hacks. Again, depending on your profile of wealth that you have. So, someone who's starting very young and doesn't have wealth and is coming from a different degree of or different part of society, his emergency solution will be different, mine will be different, yours will be different. But knowing about, you know, what could be situations of emergency, or us din, I'll give you an example. I just happened yesterday. There's one very, very rich professional who's been in markets for 40 years. His total wealth will be 35-40 crores. बहुत बड़ा amount है, right? Less than 0.1% of Indians have that type of money. He needs urgently 2 crores before 21st of March. He has to make some payment. All his investments are in lock-in products. So he's asset rich, he's cash flow poor. ये emergency उसको मालूम नहीं था, उसने visualize नहीं किया होगा, and it happened. So some part of the portfolio, 5, 10, 15%, if it was in liquid assets, could have earned lower returns, but would have helped him in situations like this. So today, he's calling up every day, you know, helter and skelter, that I need that money. And regulatorily, we can't give that money because it is in a lock-in product. So emergency is very important. It could be health emergency, it could be cash flow emergency. So there are products which are less volatile, less risky, available in 24 hours. 24 घंटे में आप बटन दबाओ, कल आपको पैसा मिल जाएगा. So such options are important to have. Liquidity.
Liquid investments
Yeah.
that we have, which can be taken.
Yeah.
No, I was just changing the pace. Since you mentioned Warren Buffett and the fact that he made all his money after that bumper orange crop and prices fell, everybody knows that. Now, people say that when the right time to enter is when people are running in the opposite direction. So what is your take on something like Satyam Mehta's or Kingfisher or Adani?
So the first rule I said is invest in good. The 3 examples you gave were not good. So even if they give you 1000% return, if they give you a certificate, you know, stamped and saying कि government पीछे खड़ा है, 1000 टका मिलेगा, I will still not put my money. But you should know, because if you didn't know, then you've not done your homework. So, ma'am, you're right. 99% people will not know because they don't know how to read balance sheets and annual reports. So if you are, sorry, you're not able to hear me?
No, she wants to ask a question after that.
Yeah, just
So we'll
last
ask her.
two lines on this. So some of these are very obvious. See, anything which gives you extraordinary returns in extraordinarily short periods of times is unlikely to sustain. That's the... ये recorded है या recorded नहीं है?
No, not recorded. I mean, you can, of course, you can, and not recorded.
See, if it is hidden, it is not good.
Yeah.
So some of these things were hidden and it came out. But I know, I was trying to play with...
Yeah, he's playing on the word, but...
No, so there are simple rules. See, कोई भी company में अगर 1 रुपए का equity है और 5 रुपए का debt है, या वो गांव के पैसे से पैसा धंधा चला रहा है, 10 रुपए का debt है, तो generally such businesses are prone to cycle risk. Let's say now Adani has built some fabulous assets and infrastructure, but to achieve that he has taken a lot of debt. वो खुद के पैसे पे नहीं बनाया, debt को लेके बनाया. अब ये debt अगर permanent है उसके लिए, everything is fine. You know, they will overcome. But today the guys who have given debt, now they are saying कि अच्छा Hindenburg report आ गया, मेरा पैसा वापस दे दो. But all his money is in airports and ports and roads. How do you monetize that? So again, asset rich, cash flow poor.
In fact, Adani was not part of the top 50 for the longest time. It's only
In last
become
2 years.
yeah, it's only come now. So if you invested in the index stocks, you would have seen a shift only by 1% because Adani's
Has
shares
only 1%
today
weight.
is only 1%. So your portfolio would not have mattered on this report. We've a request for one last. Please, we'll keep this as the last one.
Yeah. May I ask, what is your opinion about investing in art?
I don't know. मुझे मतलब art को value करने आना चाहिए. Art is good for consumption. If you like art, if you like to see it in your homes, you know, definitely you should own it. And I'm sure there are people who understand that, okay, this piece of art in the next 10, 15, 20 years will protect, you know, will nurture purchasing power and would be sold at a better price. So art is like gold, and art needs that imagination to think. So art में आपके पास अगर 10 painting आएगी, which one will, you know, appreciate and which one will not? If you have that skill, then you should definitely, you know, have it as a part of your portfolio.
Thank you.
Yeah, Aarti ma'am, can we have one question from students?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so good afternoon, sir. And I had a question about the psychology stuff a little bit. And as you said, less than 1% of the population invest thinking about the goals. And you are totally right, because I also invest, my family also invests, but they don't have particular goals set. And when you don't have a goal and you're not totally determined about what like the pathway of investing, like कितने साल तक रखना है और कितने महीने तक रखना है, we don't know, we're just investing for getting returns, right, to make money. उसमें क्या होता है, like let's say there is a downfall or there is a downshift in the market and you get a red sign in the portfolio. जब अगर portfolio red हो जाती है, the pain is more than gaining something, right? When you get 100 rupees, the happiness is there, but
pain is 3 times more.
Yeah, the pain is 3 times more. And to get rebalance it, you have to get more than 100 rupees, more than 100 rupees.
Yeah.
And many players go out of that.
Yeah.
Like myself, maybe nikal jata ho. I also exit that position or I also exit that holding. And then again the market reaches to that particular level. And this is happening from a long time to lots of people, lots and lots of people. Like because of the poor psychology or poor mindset or poor pathway, it happens. So how can we tackle that psychology part of investing?
You asked too many questions. Now, I'll try to answer. See, when you said goal होना क्यों ज़रूरी है, या मैं जब भी कोई international airport पे बैठता हूँ, and when I see the screen where there are different flights going to different countries, I feel very tempted. इधर भी जाना है, so. But how do you decide कौन सी flight पकड़नी है? Or you go to Delhi airport today, there will be 20 cities in every half an hour, some flight or the other is going. How do you decide कौन सी flight लेनी है? मुझे पता है मुझे घर जाना है तो मुंबई की flight लेनी है. तो वो मेरा गोल है, और बिकॉज मेरा गोल मुंबई है, आउट ऑफ 100 फ्लाइट्स आई नैरो डाउन टू 3 फ्लाइट्स, एंड देन उसके अंदर विच वन इज द अर्लीस्ट और द चीपेस्ट आई विल. सो गोल से शुरू हुआ, बट आई डोंट स्टार्ट बाय सेइंग आज कौन सी फ्लाइट लेनी है, या आज कौन सी फ्लाइट सबसे सस्ती है तो वो चलो कलकत्ता की फ्लाइट सबसे सस्ती है, गो देयर. सो दैट इज वाई हैविंग अ गोल इज इंपॉर्टेंट, नंबर 1. नंबर 2, द साइकोलॉजी पार्ट. नाउ हियर अगेन जो गुरु है हमारे, मेरे सब बेन ग्राहम, उन्होंने क्या बोला है कि if you are a consumer of hamburgers, American context mein, that if you love to eat hamburgers, would you want potato prices to be higher or lower? What should be the answer?
Lower.
Because you're consuming, people eat hamburgers every day. Mumbai mein log vada pav roz khate hain, yahan pe kuch aur hoga. So you want whatever you're consuming frequently, do you want prices to be higher or lower? Lower. So agar aapko अगले 10 साल 20 साल 30 साल, in your case you have to invest for next 20 or 30 years, you want to invest for next 30 years. See, in my case today I still think that my investing career is still another 20 years away. In my mind I have created a hack to say I want markets to fall for 19 years and I want it to be higher significantly in the 20th year, because if it is higher every year, my new money I'm investing at higher prices and getting lower units. So the best investors wait for red in the market, which are only 1%. Normal investors celebrate green. I celebrate red. ये मुझे जो मैंने शुरू किया कि 2008 में पता चला क्या नहीं करना चाहिए. So till 2008, whenever I would walk into office and CNBC had green color and stocks rising, we would celebrate. We would thumb the table. आज बाजार तेजी में है. बट तब मेरे एक कलीग ने जो वॉरेन बफे टाइप के है, उन्होंने बोला पागल है क्या, तेरे को तो हर महीना पैसा लगाना है, एवरी मंथ सैलरी वांट टू इन्वेस्ट, यू शुड वेट की सीएनबीसी पे रेड कब हो. तो अब उल्टा हो गया, जब भी मार्केट ऊपर होता है आई एम डिप्रेस्ड बिकॉज माई सैलरी कम्स एवरी मंथ एंड आई वॉन्ट टू इन्वेस्ट एवरी मंथ. नाउ आई एम बाइंग एट हायर प्राइजेस. सो one hack you need to keep in mind is celebrate corrections. I tell lot of TV anchors who call me for interviews कि जब वो सेंसेक्स 60,000 पे जाता है ना, तब बलून्स मत उड़ाओ, तब केक कटिंग मत करो. जब 50,000 पे जाता है तब करो, because India still has not invested. People like you have still not invested. So if markets are down, people like us who are invested will feel bad because मेरा already पैसा लगा हुआ है. But for people like you, you should celebrate corrections because you have to acquire. So of course it is also a function of time horizon. If your time horizon is just 1 month, you want it to be green. So for such asset classes, you invest in debt, which has nothing to do with market. But wherever you are doing long-term investing, you need to have a bear market. Great returns are born only in bear markets. Great investors are created when they invest in bear markets. 99.9% investors celebrate bull markets and hence they are not great investors. So ये बहुत बड़ा inversion है जो दिमाग में तुम्हें लाना पड़ेगा. मंदी को embrace करो, तेजी में. See, अभी आप देखोगे newspapers में politically भी every day all hype, everyone says everything is rosy and India is shining and growing and all of that. But if markets keep rising, for you are acquiring the same asset class at higher and higher prices. So the day it is red, put more money. the day it becomes irrationally green, take money out. But इतना आसान नहीं है कि हर ग्रीन पे निकालते जाओ, बिकॉज जैसे मैंने बोला कि 20 साल पहले अगर किसी चीज़ का भाव 1 रुपया था, अच्छे स्टॉक का या अच्छी कंपनी का या अच्छे एसेट क्लास का 1 रुपया था, और आज अगर वो 100 रुपया है, तो 1 का 2 हुआ तब तुम निकल जाओगे, तो 2 से 100 का जर्नी मिस आउट हो गया. सो अगेन देयर आर सर्टेन रूल्स. सो इफ़ यू कॉन्स्टेंटली कीप दीज 2 प्रिंसिपल्स, जहाँ इन्वेस्ट किया है वो अच्छा है और रीजनेबल भाव पे है, और ये 10 साल के बाद इसका भाव ऊपर ही होने वाला है, तो निकलने की जरूरत नहीं है. डोंट गेट आउट ऑफ द ट्रेन. लाइक आई वांट टू गो फ्रॉम मुंबई टू, लेट्स से दिल्ली टू मुंबई इन अ ट्रेन, एंड द नेक्स्ट स्टॉप इज आगरा. जस्ट बिकॉज ट्रेन रुक गई, आई विल गेट आउट. नो. So these are few principles to be aware of.
Super. What a wonderful point to end the conversation with, Kalpen. Thank you so much for all those valuable nuggets.
Thank you.
Can I request Pooja to please give the vote of thanks?
Thanks for not asking very difficult questions.
Don't work for money, make it work for you, is a very famous quote by Robert Kiyosaki. And making money work for you is one of the most important things, especially when I feel women like us, youngsters, are getting into financial literacy. It's a very different India, and I hope it keeps up like that. Thank you, Mr. Kalpen Parekh, for a very, very insightful session today. And may I just add, after your session, that a well-diversified presentation, from groceries to fashion to Nifty to your very nice insight about your worthy wife. Thank you very much for a great session. And at any point of time, if any of us find ourselves at the crossroads while taking financial decisions, the key takeaways from this session will certainly be very helpful. Today's session was an eye-opener in many ways, with the basic principles of smart investment decisions on how to avoid financial pit traps and gravitate towards better financial making decisions. On behalf of Flo and myself, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Kalpen Parekh for being with us today and addressing us. And please, I request the audience, we haven't clapped enough. One round of applause nicely, especially flown down from Mumbai. Thank you very much, Mr. Parekh. I thank all our GB members and other Flow members for being here today. Thank you to our sponsors for the year 2022-23, Platinum sponsor KEI Wires and Cables, GHCL, Associate sponsor Ardenox, and Ahuja Sons. Thank you everyone for joining on a lovely afternoon. Can I please request for a photograph first, Poonamji, as you say, for the GB members and maybe all the members? And then we can have lunch. Thank you very much.
Please join us for lunch on the 3rd floor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, Aarti, once again.
No, come, you're joining us for lunch, no?
I'll just